Okay, we're going to start on Chaf Hey Amar Aleph, towards the bottom. Mafricha Yoinim. I think that's where we left off. It's about 10 lines from the bottom. Okay, thank Hashem that we're able to learn Torah every day. So we're learning, we shall be Beis Hamikdash, learning Little Nishmas, Avigdal, the Basparach, Binyamin, and some Tzia. And of course, Shalem, from David Ben Sarah, the guy gets prayer from the father, Miriam Madel, and Chaim Ben Sarah. Jimmy, you in touch with Jimmy? Ah. Okay. Okay, so it starts like this. Mafricha Yoinim. We said we're discussing people that are disqualified from being witnesses or judges. One of them, besides for the gamblers and all of that, is another one is people that send out, it's not pigeons, it's doves. They fly doves. What exactly are they doing that disqualifies them? So the Gemara says, "My mafricha yonim." What are these people that fly doves? Over here it was translated as which means that they do races. They say if your bird can get to the destination, they race the birds. Oh wow! So so they do races. Basically, it's another type of gambling. It's like horse racing. Reb Chama Baraishi Amar Ara. Ara is someone that's able to. Is it the poach? Is that what they call that? Where you get you trap other people's birds. You get what's the word? What's the English word that they use for it?
He decoys pigeons into his coat by tying his own pigeon to one end of the string and away to the other.
He gets the birds to come back to him. It's a way of stealing. Mandam, according to the opinion that says, why doesn't he say that it's stealing? Why does he say that it's racing? Why doesn't he say that it's the stealing one? But the truth is that no one really owns those birds. Only thing is, they said that so not to cause fights, they said if someone has that bird in his nest, in his coat, then you shouldn't take him. Okay, but that's not really stealing. It's just a rabbinic level.
They have bird racing, and then they have these birds that what they do is they let them loose to attract more birds into their thing.
So what we're saying is that those are two things. Those are two separate opinions. Those are two separate opinions. Two different things. Not connected. We asked, why doesn't one say the other? Why does this one not say the other one? The racing one, why doesn't he say that it's attracting the birds to his thing? The answer is because he says, because that's not really considered stealing. That one according to him, that would not invalidate a person. Someone that does that wouldn't invalidate him from being a witness or a judge because he's not really stealing.
But the part that they're not putting there is that there's two different types of birds. One bird is trained to raise, right. The other bird is trained to steal.
Right, right. Okay. We're talking about the person, right? The person that's doing this is becoming invalid. So why doesn't he say? It's because he actually wouldn't become invalid. Manda Ma'ara, the one that says the opposite, the one that says he's training the birds to be attracted to his come to his coat. Why doesn't he say that it's the racing? He didn't want to say that it's racing because we already said about gambling, and that's the same thing, playing with dice. So we already said that he's puzzled. This is the same thing. He doesn't have to say it twice. It's a good point. What does the other fellow say? That what is going to say? Every type of card game you're going to put in there, poker and other types of whatever games there are. So Tana Teleb Das Asmed and Teleb Das Yani. Well, we wanted to put in because there's actually a halachic distinction or a logical distinction between these two types of of gambling. One is a gambling where you're trusting your own skill. Another one is you're trusting the skill of your bird. Now, it's shricha, and it's necessary to say both, because if it would only say the gambling, which is the dice, over there, he really did not agree. This is a real case of asmachta, because he felt that he was going to win. He knows how to roll the dice. He knows how to do it. He's so damar, because he says, Kimli benafshoy, I know how to do this very well. So I think I'm going to win, and that's why he agreed to it. Then he loses. It's an asmachta. When he takes the money, or the other person actually, when the other person thought that he really knows how to do, when he takes the money, he becomes a gana. But the person that's relying on the skill of his pigeon, of his dove, maybe we would say that he knows that it's all luck. He knows that it's luck. It's not an asmachta. It was like throwing away money. You knew that you might lose. You have no, it's totally up to the birds about what they're gonna do.
So this asmachta means that he was promising, but it was based on a condition that hadn't happened yet, right?
Exactly. That's the real asmachta. The real case of asmachta is when you also had some logic involved, that you thought that you were really going to win, not that you understood that it was a gamble.
So his problem here in the eyes of the rabbis was that it was based on chance.
If it's based on chance,
there are asmachtas that are acceptable, aren't there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, the original case of asmachta was when he thought that he would be able to do something, which was the machlekes, if that's a asmachta. Now we're saying that when it comes to a gamble, a roll of dice, or I'm not using the right word, if it becomes to something that he understands is luck, then that's less of an asmachta, and it's more of a kinyan. The real asmachta is when he thinks he's going to be able to do something.
It sounds like the more strategy is involved.
The more strategy is involved, the more of an asmachta it is, which makes it
more strategy, the less
the opposite. The more strategy that's involved, the more he thinks that he's going to win, and therefore, when the other person takes it, when he loses, he never agreed to that, because the only reason why he set this up is because he knew the strategy, and he knew that he was going to get it. The less strategy that's involved, you knew that it's up to luck, so you knew that you possibly might lose, and when you lose, you have to pay. That's less of an asmach. Yeah.
In the case of a stock market, you're contributing.
Yeah, but in the stock market, people believe that they know what they're doing.
Yeah, not the
Until they
money.
don't.
We find out
That's
it's
how they
like-
know.
I was wondering. Like everything, even someone that purchases a house, they buy a house because they think the price is going to go up, but no one's going to buy anything thinking that the price is going to go down. So it's more like about a risk. A house is less risk than you buy corn.
When you're buying an item, that doesn't have to do with asmachta. That's a regular investment. You understand that there's a market. That's not.
Seems to me though that this position is this the position of the Kakamim? Whoever's position this is, you're giving somebody an excuse to back out of a deal.
Yeah,
You're saying, well, I don't really owe you because it was never really a valid agreement.
What we're doing is we're going back to that machlekes of asmachta. It was a machlekes in Rabbi Yehuda, and we're saying that over there we understand why there's a machlekes about asmachta, but maybe you would say over here that there's no machlekes. Maybe you would agree that everyone would say that this is an acceptable. When you collect the money on this is acceptable.
furnished, and
But they're in not so good areas.
hours, probably 3 or 4 times a day.
Oh, so they-
Okay. Now we go the other way. We eat and let's say a person that if you would if you would say only the case of the bird, then the Amar Benaksha Tali Milsa he would say that there's actually strategy to that. And I'm an expert banger. You would have to bang something together to get the birds to fly. You would like cheer them on or something. So he says, I know how to do it. So therefore, I'm going to get them to fly well. I will tell him, but when he's just his own spinning the dice or whatever. So Emalai would say that has nothing to do with this. You throw the dice. So we need to have both cases, because if we would only say one, you might say that the other one is not really the same category of a smachta. Okay, Meisvei. Gemara has a question. Masachik bekuvya. Someone that plays with dice. These are people that play with little wood chips. I don't know exactly what they do, but they play something. It sounds like jacks or something. They can play with peels of walnuts and peels of pomegranates. What type of game is this? I don't know. It's like backgammon. I don't know. Some sort of game. And they play for money.
Bonus says that the dice are used occasionally.
Oh, and the dice. Oh,
No,
the,
in this game, the dice are used occasionally.
Uh-huh.
That's the main parts of the show.
uh-huh.
Like
They throw the dice to see how many spaces to move.
Russian roulette is definitely. No one thinks they're gonna-
Oh,
No one thinks they're gonna die.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. The game won't go like this.
Right.
Not cool.
Yeah.
How do you do tshuva? How do you get out? How do you become kosher again after playing these games? When they break their chips, and they do a full returning. That they won't even play without money. And they say, I don't do this anymore. Say, oh, don't worry. He doesn't even smoke. He doesn't even vape.
I think that in this area, kind of like the rum ones that you get like allergic to the thing. These are people that won't be near someone that smokes.
Right.
The point being that he's no longer puzzle.
Yeah. At this point, he comes back. He's returning to be kosher. Okay, next case. Malvi Beribis. This is going to be a long question. So meanwhile, we're going through this list of people that lend money on interest. We said we're also puzzle. So it's whether it's the lender or the borrower. How do they come back, right? How do they do tshuva and become valid to be witnesses? And when they tear up their documents, when they do a full returning, what number volume are you? 29.
Bottom.
When they do a full returning, I feel and they won't even lend money to a non-Jew with interest. People that they I'm sorry. Oh, right. What's the heter to do the cash advance business?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess the lenders aren't Jewish. I guess you're not lending the money. You're just the brokering, right? Is that how it works?
Ask your
So they're-
local. That's right.
Then they're really not in cash.
But he's a shliach. He's the one that's making all the money. He has none just working for him, but there is shliach. He's the one making the money.
Should
So
be
the
if
cash
it's his
advance
money or
business
not.
where all these kids they're making money.
Yeah.
Are they the ones that have the money and they're
Yeah.
lending it, or are they the ones that are just giving out the loans?
They for the person that has the money, and they get a commission, so they profit when you give it.
Uh-huh. So they get a commission off it.
But it's not their money then. It's not cash, it's their money.
Most of them.
Maybe there's a
Actually, most of the
heteriska.
companies kind of become by the lender, so turns out that they're just buying the business, they're not lending anybody.
Yeah,
But nevertheless. Okay. So, yeah, I wanted this student of mine. I saw him a few years later. So what are you doing? He says, I hate my job. So what is it? He says, cash advance. So why do you hate it? So he says, basically I have to lie to these older people and tell them that we're going to work with you. Don't worry, it's not going to be a problem. And then we just give them the loan and then we take everything. So I can't stand it. But a year later, he's still doing it. So I guess it pays well.
Right.
I'm sorry.
It's a human condition.
Yeah.
It's right.
Anyway, mafricha yainim, people that they do these either they're doing these bird races or they're attracting birds to their own dovecote. Elo shemamrim esayainim. We have a totally new pshat. These are people that instigate birds to fight. What do they call these?
Like they have rooster fighting.
Rooster fighting. They have the same with the animals. And how do you get them back? When they break I think it's the bleachers, the stands that they would stand on when they watch them. I think and when they do a complete returning. Now bamidbar means even even for free. They don't even do it. According to this interpretation, means they don't even do it for money. They'll do it. They won't even do it even if there's no money.
Sport.
It's a sport. Right?
You can see that. Miami, they have it.
It's all entertainment.
Yeah. You watch the roosters rip themselves apart.
It's people that make money that
Couldn't afford a bullfight.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, people that do business on Shemitah. These are people that buy and sell fruits of Shemitah. How do they return the tshuva? Look at this. This is when another Shemitah comes and they don't do business. They have to wait 7 years. That's a long time. When you come, right? Not that they follow the Rambam. This is where the Rambam gets it from.
Sorry.
Yeah. Amar Rab Nechemia says, they actually return the money as well. It's not only that they say they're not going to do it, but they'll even return the money. Ketzad, how does this? He says, Ani pleni bar pleni kinastim sayim zuz beperish shvius reinusunim b'matana laniyim. He gets rid of the money. He says, I'm giving it to the poor. Interesting that that's considered getting rid of the money. Well, Katani Miyas. Right. Katani Miyas. Yeah, that's a good point. We learned Behema says that they would do the same with the animals. Now, if it's referring to it's interesting. In this case, they added in animals, wild animals, and birds. Now, if what mafricha yainim was races, then haina the mishkachs lebehema. So you can have races with animals as well. But if it's referring to this poaching, where you try to attract other people's birds to come to your dovecote. So then behema basachi, the animals do that. What do? You send an animal in and you attract other people's animals out of their pen to come to you. So the Gemara says in B'sharabar, we're talking about the wild ox. Commandam B'sharabar min behemot, according to the opinion that says the wild ox is a type of animal that's non-sharabar min behemi. Rabbi Yossi min chaya. Now, so what would this wild ox do? I don't know, I guess it would go and it would attract other people's wild ox maybe is a buffalo or something. And it would attract wild animals or domestic animals, and it would gather them together and it would make them come to this person's house.
That's similar to what happened with the birds. I don't know.
We found an example of something. Okay, so that was our question. We said, how could this fit with the animals? And we answered that it works with this wild ox, according to that opinion. Tana was taught in a brisa. It goes into the deserts and it brings other wild animals to come after it. And the reason is because some of these animals are coming from pens that people had. Keitana, starting in the Brisa, Sifa Aleim, they added to the people that were invalid testimony. Hagazlanim, robbers, Vachamsanim are people that force transactions. They say, sell this to me, and here's the money. They, with a gun. So
And these were talking about people that are disqualified.
These are disqualified as witnesses and judges. When it says Gazlan, I need the brisa to add this in. That the Torah says that you shouldn't allow a wicked person to be a witness. It says we're talking about where a deaf mute or an imbecile or a child found something and they take it. Originally, they said that we're not going to invalidate a person like that because it's so uncommon. Or maybe they don't really own anything anyway. It's just we don't want to take things from them because it's not the way of peace to do that. But keeping the chazor, the safe minor, the kashakli. But once they saw that they're actually taking money and they're violating this takana, not to take things from these people that can't really watch them. So paslinu rabbanan. The rabbi said that they're invalid for testimony. Achamsanim, what did they think and what did they think after? Why did they say that these people were valid and then they said they're not valid for witnesses? Because of the Meikayav, originally they said, look, they gave money. They didn't steal it, they paid for it. Akray Balmo, it's just one thing he wanted. And he forced the guy to sell it. Even the Chazar, the Kachatzfu, once they saw that they were started to take things, it sounds like even without paying. No, I guess they saw that they were still paying because they're chamsanim, but they saw that they were doing this by force. So then they made a decree on them. What happened originally? They weren't doing it by force. The problem over here is that they don't trust them, is because since they have such greed for money, so if someone could pay them and they would testify falsely because of the money. See, they value the money more than their ethics. Right. Tana was taught in a brisa. They added on to them Arayim, shepherds, Agabayim are type of tax collectors, and also Bamuchsin are other types of tax collectors. Rayim, what are they?
I heard it. Why the sheep?
You're going to see Rayim. Why the shepherds? Because of our Balmu. Originally, they thought the fact that the animals end up going into other people's fields and eating, that's because they didn't watch it so well. Okay, I'm sorry. But given the chazar, the kamachavni, but then they saw that the shepherds were actually sending them. The animals were saying, I'm hungry. They said, go to the neighbor. Then they said, no, Gazer Baraban. They said that they're stealing. This is the tax collectors. Mikar Savar Maida Kastaka Shakli said, what are they doing wrong? They're collecting what's the appropriate tax. That's not stealing. Whatever the people owe, that's what they're collecting. Someone's got to do that, right? Given the Chazar, the Kashakli Yaseira Paslina, but then they saw they weren't just collecting the tax, they were taking more than they were supposed to. So they said that they're pasal. Amar Rava. Rava says, Rayesh Amru, when they said that a shepherd is invalid, That's echad raya behemadaka, echad raya behemagasa. It doesn't matter if he's a shepherd for small animals or for large animals. Small animals would be sheep and goats, and large animals are cows and bulls. Well, the Gemara says, Miyama Rava Hachi, did Rava really say that? But Rava said differently. If he's a shepherd of small animals in Israel, that's when he's puzzled. Because they're more strict about it in Israel. What does it say? Because of why is it? What does it have to do with Yishuv Eretz Yisrael? Because they're going to destroy other people's fields.
Yeah.
I'm going to eat in the other people's fields. The small animals, they go out, they'll destroy people's vegetation. So, but Chutzlaretz ksherin, but you're allowed to do this in Chutzlaretz. And Raya Behemagasa, large animals, I feel a Eretz Yisrael ksherin. Large animals don't go roaming around into other people's fields. That you have to have your, a stable. You have to hold them, and they don't wander around. So even in Eretz Yisrael, they're kosher. So why does Rava say that it doesn't matter if you're a shepherd of small animals or large animals? We see Rava makes a clear distinction between the two. It says, Ahu, the answer is Megadlim Itmar. That wasn't talking about shepherds. That was talking about people that are raising them in their houses. So that's not the shepherds. So over there, even if they're small animals, there's still a problem because they still run away. But shepherds are both small and big. It's going to be the same problem. I'll prove it to you. Midiktani, you have a brisa that says, Namana malai shleisha raya bakar. I think it was the Mishnah. The Mishnah said that if someone accepts on himself to be judged by 3 shepherds, and obviously the reason why this was significant was because even though those are invalid to judge, nevertheless, because he accepted on himself that these people can judge his case, so it's considered valid. And why are they invalid to judge? Because they're shepherds. What type of shepherds? Raya Bakar. They're shepherds of large animals. You see, large animals are invalid. The shepherds of large animals are also invalid. Gemara says, my love laedus. The Gemara says, but it must be talking about testimony. They're invalid to testify. The Gemara says, Ladina. The reason why they're invalid is not because they were shepherds. The reason why they're invalid is because they're ignorant. And we're calling them shepherds. They're unlearned. They never studied.
Daf Yomi.
1 second, no. Dekanami, I'll prove it to you. It says 3 shepherds. Relay the Shleisha Lamali. So why does it have to be 3 if we're only talking about testimony? Obviously, we're dealing with judges. So you're talking about judges. Anyone that's not a judge. Why do you have to say shepherds? It means to say these people are so not judges that they don't even live in settled areas. They don't know anything about judgment. They never read the lawyer that writes, John Grisham. Never read right? He's a lawyer. He writes like law cases. Right? They don't know anything. They never watched the
Judge Judy.
Court TV. Judge Judy what does she do?
It's she passed the judgment. She's it's ridiculous.
Is it a real court that they video, or is it
Small claims.
small claims court?
It's on TV.
It's fake. Oh,
They hire the people. So fake.
okay. So we're saying that these guys don't even know that. They don't know how anything works. Okay. Amar Rabbi Yehuda. Sometimes they say they probably know better.
Someone writes the script. Though they're actors.
Oh.
Someone has to write it.
They're probably more therapists than judges.
What?
They're probably more therapy than judges.
Yeah, that's the purpose.
So all the avos were shepherds of
Yeah.
sheep, weren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you want to say?
It's a harsh judgment about the avos.
Right. And the chiddush is that they were very careful, but not to let them. Yeah.
And they were learned. They only had that to give them some time. Yeah.
Right.
So they were more learned than City.
Is there any comments on this? Yeah, any what Daf we on? Oh, Beis.
Marshall was a shepherd.
That's right.
The court recognizes him as one who does not let his animals graze in the fields of others.
Earlier, when it was making a difference between
Okay.
in Israel and outside,
Yeah.
it had mentioned that it was based on the rabbi's decrees that they would have been
Right, exactly.
limit what?
Raising animals in Israel, but
No.
that was, I think, Yerushalayim.
Yeah.
Was it in all of Israel? All of Israel? All of Israel, you couldn't raise small animals. So where did they get all the karbanos from? That to take them from other places?
I think for them that they were only allowed to bring 30 days before.
Uh-huh.
That's a big.
But how did they get all the small animals for the sacrifice? Oh, near the settled areas.
Oh,
Certain animals were only allowed to be
so in the negatives.
30 days before.
Yeah.
Nice to have.
Right. Okay. We're holding Amar Rabbi Yehuda Stamray Apostle Stam Gabe Kasha. A regular shepherd will assume is puzzle, and a regular tax collector will assume is kosher, unless we know differently.
Sounds like they have so much power, it could be questionable. The integrity of the state.
Right. But someone told me it's not impossible to run a used car business, honestly. It's just no one ever tried.
A lot of money.
Make a lot of money. It's just nobody does it the right way.
Okay.
Can you make money honestly?
No, you can't. You can't do it. Because that joke could go with any profession. Okay, Avua de Reb Zera, Aved Gavusa Tleisa Shnin. Reb Zera's father, he was a tax collector for 13 years. When the head of this area, the head tax person, would come to the city, so Reb Zera's father would go around, he would see the sages, he would say, come with me, come into your room. It means go hide. He would like hint to them on the pasuk. When he would see other people from the town, he would say, He's going to slaughter the father in front of the son and the son in front of the father, which meant go and hide. So everyone ran to hide because the tax collector is coming. Yossi, when he came, Marmalay, so Reb Zera's father would say, "Mimani boy, who do you want me to collect taxes?" In other words, if he would see a large town, he would set a high price. Like, okay, there's a lot of people there, so I want this and this amount of money. He would see an empty town, so they'd say, okay, so very little money. When Reb Zera's father was passing away, Marmalay, he said, take these 13 moi, which is not a lot of money, that's bound up in a cloth. Give it back to so and so the shaklasinu because I took it from him, but they didn't ask me for it. So it was giving back the taxes.
Because the district manager didn't need it.
Yeah. Just like today, sometimes they send you back. The IRS sends you back some money, so you paid too much. Once in a while.
$3.75.
They give you interest also.
Never happened.
Yeah,
Never happened.
They give you back interest.
Only.
No, I got back. So they made a mistake and they gave me back, and they gave me with interest, I think. No, what happened was I think I had some fraud. I think someone had stolen my my tax refund or something. And then I didn't get it. I made a claim. And then finally when I got it, They gave it to me with a little extra, little interest. Anyway, okay.
The reverse happens. If you underpaid, they send you a bill with interest.
Oh, really?
That the interest
Oh.
didn't.
That's what I was thinking. It's fair that they pay you interest because
Because they're collecting everyone else.
They
They're
charge
collecting
interest.
interest from everyone else. Amar Rab Shimon. Rab Shimon says, "Betchila yakarnei say oisishis." This was like this line in the Mishnah which we didn't really understand. We said that people that do business on Shemitah. Rab Shimon says, originally they were called Shemitah gatherers, but then when the tax collectors increased, we started to call them Shvius business people. Shemitah, Shvius Shemitah. So we didn't understand, what does he mean? Mike Amar, what's Reb Shimon saying? This Reb Shimon by Yechai. Amar Rab Yehuda, Reb said Hachi Kamar. Originally they said people that gather fruits on Shemitah, they're kosher. You're allowed to gather the fruits. You're allowed to eat them, so you can gather them. And Seicherem Psulim. Now the truth is, when you're gathering it, it looks like you're doing business. You're going to sell it. Why are you gathering so much? It looks like you're making a market. But it's still allowed. Seicherem, but if you're actually doing the business, you're selling, then that's possible. Also, just because you're selling, it shows that you're greedy. It means maybe you would also testify falsely for money. People would give money to poor people, and the poor people would go out and collect Shemitah fruits and bring it back. So in other words, you would get the poor, you would make doing a business off welfare.
Right.
You tell the poor to
Get
go
food stamps.
to
and
get the
sell
food
it.
stamps and bring it back to me. Bring me back. So you would give them money, and they would go around and collect in all the fields, because the poor would go to the fields to collect, and then they would bring it back to you. So then, they said, gatherers are also possible, because this was becoming common. So this is what Rabbi Yehuda explains, is originally they were gatherers, which was kosher, but now they said that the gatherers are puzzle, because they were also doing business. Well, kosher b'nei Rachba, the b'nei Rachba have a question on this. It says, "Hi Mishraba anasim, Mishraba at the garmi." It doesn't have to do with tax collection